you might have heard of the term maybe body dysmorphia, but what about money dysmorphia? Apparently this is a new trend among young people. Here to explain is Sarah Rathner, a personal finance expert with NerdWallet. Good morning to you, Sarah. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So money dysmorphia, what exactly is this?
It's when your perception of your financial situation doesn't actually match your reality. And it can cause all sorts of behaviors like being too afraid to spend your money even though you're financially stable, or on the other side, overspending when you don't actually have the money to do so.
What exactly, I know you referenced some of those, some of the signs. What exactly are all of the maybe telltale signs that this is something you're dealing with?
Yeah, a big one is just having anxiety and other negative emotions when it comes to your money. And that could also cause you to compare yourself to others and maybe be a little bit unfair with yourself. And like I said, it can cause overspending or underspending. Obviously, you want to live within your means, so underspending doesn't seem like a bad thing on the surface, but it's just being afraid to part with your money for things that you need or even things that you want when you can definitely afford to do so.
In terms of your finances, how can this really impact your finances, whether that is negatively or positively? I imagine it's going to be more negative, though.
It can be. Obviously, there's that living in fear, living with all those negative emotions. And if you're overspending because of this money dysmorphia, then it can really get in the way of your ability to not only pay your bills in the short term, but also meet your money goals in the long term. All those things you want to do for yourself later on in life, it's going to be a lot harder to do if you're overspending today.
So this is really more of a budgeting issue, you would say then?
It's a budgeting issue, but can also be rooted in deep-seated money trauma. And that can come from your upbringing. Maybe you had parents that struggled with money when you were a child and you internalized a lot of those issues. Maybe you lived through economic uncertainty. We all have over the last, 15 years or so. You might have lost your job and your source of income in the past, and that makes you really afraid to spend your money even today, even if it's been years. And these sorts of things can really take hold in you and make it hard to see what's actually there. And also, there's always this element of social pressure. What are my friends doing? What am I seeing on social media? Why doesn't my life look like theirs? It could make it really tempting to spend money to try and solve those issues.
So then the million-dollar question, no pun intended, what do you do to solve this?
A big help is actually getting an idea of where you stand today with real numbers, not just your perception, but reality. And there are a couple things you can do to figure out where you stand today. Start by looking at recent bank statements, recent credit card statements, see where your money is actually going. You can do what's called a cash flow statement. There are free templates for this online. That just shows you money coming in through income and then money going out through spending. And you just want to see how those two things compare. Hopefully the money coming in is more than the money going out. You can also do what's called a net worth statement. That shows you what you own minus what you owe in the form of debt. You can find templates for that online as well. There's also a net worth calculator on NerdWallet. This will all give you an accurate picture of your money so you can begin making goals and changing your behaviors according to what's actually true.
All right, we got to live in the reality for sure when it comes to our finances. Sarah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.